very early on, I had good senior guys that like poured into me. And one of the things they told me was leave work at work and don't talk about it at home. It didn't make sense so much then. It makes so much sense now. When I leave work at 5 o'clock, I'm not a cop. My husband is also, I met him when I used to work in corrections. So he's also a cop. And we don't talk about work. If I need to talk about work, I'll call my work friends.
Welcome back to the After School podcast, where we read our lyrics, speak our thoughts, and tell our truth. My name is Chris, and today we're going to be interviewing Detective Nora, who talks about gun violence and her struggles with being a police officer, and also her journey of knowing what she wants to do in life.
Watch out, the clock may tick and your life's over. Choosing to be happy takes weight off your shoulder.
How are you today, Nora?
I'm doing good.
So I just wanted to ask a little bit about your experience of being ex-police officer and now detective, right?
Yes.
Did you ever imagine yourself maybe 10, 20 years ago having this job?
So I actually became a cop later on in my year. I actually became a cop in my 30s. It was always something that I wanted to do, but I had a son at an early age in my early 20s. So that dream seemed like it was out the door.
Yeah.
But it was always in the back of my mind because my father was a cop. So it was always something I wanted to do. But I went the corporate side. And then after working in corporate for like a couple years, I realized like, when you don't do what you really want to do, you're never really happy. So I wasn't really happy. Around my 30s, the company that I was working for like 9 years, they were relocating. And they gave me the option to either work from home, which at that time was like rare.
Yeah.
It's not like now. Or I could have took the package. I don't know what came over me, but I decided to take the package.
What is that? What exactly is the package?
It's like a severance pay. So they pay you like up to 2 years. They give you like a lump sum money. And you still get your paycheck, and then that's it. So I did that. I paid a trainer, and I started to work out and pursue my law enforcement career. And so I did that. But then corrections called me.
Corrections. What's corrections?
Corrections like corrections like jail. They were the first
okay.
agency that called me. A lot of officers don't want to do it. They don't like to do it.
Yeah.
But I just wanted to get my foot in the door. So I became a corrections officer first. After I became a correction officer, then I also applied to be a police officer. And then I became a Plainfield police officer, which I was born and raised in Plainfield. So I became a cop in the city that I was raised in, which I loved. And then I became a detective there first. Thereafter, while I was there, Lodi Police Department was hiring another young lady, and I was working in internal affairs. Do you know what internal affairs is?
I have no idea.
So every police department or every police agency has an internal affairs. There are the unit that most people don't want to work in because they investigate cops. So anything that they do, any misconduct or any disciplinary things, all go through internal affairs. So I was, at my very young part of my career, I became a detective in internal affairs. I had no clue what I was doing at that time, but they wanted someone that was biased, someone that didn't know all the police officers, someone that can do investigations and be fair and impart, be fair. So from there, I went to Lodi, which is a whole different county.
Oh, it's like a different
It's a
county.
whole Bergen County, which is totally different for me. And I missed home. And so
that must have been so hard though.
It was hard. The commute was like horrible because I was like on a road, and it was like it wasn't a great thing. I loved though Lodi, the police officers, like the friends that I made, friendships that I still have to this day. But I came back home, and then I applied, and that's how I started working at the prosecutor's office, which I've been there for 7 years now. And then in the prosecutor's office, I've done like different things. I've done I started off in, I did child pornography, I did domestic violence. I was doing homicide. Today is my first day of going back to child pornography.
Oh, was it really?
Yes. So I had to transfer to, I got out of the homicide and I'm into child pornography.
How is it like seeing all these cases and like all these things happening? Like, does it ever take a toll on your mental health or like?
Believe it or not, it's never the work for me, because when you do what you like to do,
Yeah.
it never feels that much. Sometimes what gets hard is dealing with some people with the public, or some of your coworkers, or things of that nature, or policies, or things that happen, or the long hours. You know, sometimes if we get a case, we may get it like today, and we may still be working till like 2:00 tomorrow. So sometimes that part gets hard. You know, missing out on special occasions like, you know, your kids, you know, milestones, birthdays, or, you know, a wedding, or things that you just can't commit to because you don't know what's coming in. That's what's hard. The job itself for me, no. I mean, I know some officers that can't handle the child pornography or can't handle homicide at all.
Yeah.
That has never affected me.
Do you think that it could affect officers a lot
Absolutely.
though?
Yeah. No, absolutely. I think that
It sounds scary, like just like going to work and then like seeing all that. I don't know. I feel like personally it'd be so hard for me.
it feels hard, but it's something that when a case comes, like your adrenaline just moves and you just go. It's something that you can't even explain. We're on call like every 3 weeks. So that becomes hard. But when you get the case and it comes, you could be tired, but it's just something that like, psst, you know, it's almost like you could be sitting here sleepy and the fire alarm goes off, and you know how you immediately like
you get
jump up and you
you're
rush.
oriented, yeah.
It's just something that it's like a rush, and you know, I can't really explain it. It's just like you go, and then it's like when you drop and you sit, you're like,
That's when you notice and you realize.
because you're not drinking, you're not eating.
Yeah.
You know, you're like, at some point you have to like, okay, let me eat, let me drink, let me think this through.
Yeah.
But it does take a toll on your mental health without you knowing it. Like for me today, it was my first day at not being in homicide.
Yeah.
It's a difference. I feel a different, like one, my attire, right? Because I'm in homicide, I get to wear suits. Where I'm at now, I could kind of dress down a little bit.
Yeah.
How
does that work? Like, why is it that
we're in a different,
homicide?
it's like a satellite office. So like homicide is in the main building. Because it's in the main building, you have our big bosses coming in. You have to be very polished.
Yeah.
So you have to be dressed really nicely. Because we're in our satellite office, no one from the public visits there.
Yeah.
So you can kind of like,
Yeah, you can kind of let it go a little bit.
yes.
So you said that you worked in homicide. What is one of the leading causes that you think would, like, from what you've seen and what you've experienced, what do you think was one of the leading reasons for the homicide cases to happen?
Gun violence.
Gun violence? I figured.
Gun violence. I would say gun violence. And, you know, sometimes we know the motives,
Yeah.
but the majority of times we don't know the motive. And to be quite honest, that's never our focus. It's nice to know the motive,
Yeah.
but we never know, because obviously the person that can tell us is the victim, and we're advocating for them. And sometimes people know. Sometimes we may know if we get in their phone and there's some conversations, but most of the time we don't know. And that's never like, if I had to say, it's never justified.
Yeah.
It's never a reason. I just think that the easy way out is for people to, you know, kill someone, you know, with a firearm. That's the easy way out. You know, I'm a little older. I was raised that if you have a fight, it was fist fight. You know, like we have a problem, we go outside. You know, it's not like that these days. You know, if I don't like you, or you said something to me wrong, or you're looking at my girlfriend, or looking at my boyfriend, or people just like to resolve those types of issues
with violence.
with violence.
Yeah. And So would you say it is a problem, maybe not only in this community, but other communities?
It's worldwide. It's worldwide. I mean, I feel like I've seen it, growing up. Obviously, guns has always been a part of,
Yeah.
in our existence. But I feel like it has increased because it's become more available
Yeah.
to everyone, And I'm not saying that it shouldn't. I'm just saying that for the people that don't go through the right protocols of doing it the right way, it's very easy for them to get a firearm.
Do you think there should be more reinforcements on like ways to get a gun? Because you know how you would probably have to go through a step of being able to actually own a gun.
Personally, I don't look at it like that. Personally, I look at it, it's all about mental health and how you were raised and how,
Yeah.
I think it's all about the person. It has nothing to do with the policy, because you have people that have committed crimes that lawfully, taking courses, know how to shoot, have a permit, and I don't think it has anything to do with that. I think it's just people being able to know how to control your emotions. I don't know what the resolution is, but I just feel like as people, in juveniles, adults, we don't know how to express ourselves.
Yeah.
When we're frustrated, we don't know how to take time out. When something is like heavy, we don't know how to talk, including myself. I would say that I've been challenged this last year, and I'm a resiliency officer, which is I am the person that if an officer is going through a hard time, whether it's work, whether it's personal, they can reach out to me. And whatever they say to me is confidential. Like, I can't report it. I can only, give you guidelines. So I'm also a good resources for my friends where, I'm that person that they come to and kind of like put all their problems on them on my shoulders. But what I didn't realize is that, that takes a toll on you too, because you're carrying everyone's problems. And then when you're having a problem,
who do you tell?
Yeah, and then how do you fix it? Like, I can tell you how to fix it. I can tell everyone else how to fix it. But when it came to myself, I didn't know how to fix it. I learned that I was kind of like keeping it to myself, because I think mentally I was thinking I have to hold everyone's secrets, or I have to hold this confidential. So I too was holding my own things confidential, confidential to myself. But that wasn't doing me any good. And I saw a change where I was just more quiet, more reserved.
Yeah. Do you think, did you find any way to help yourself? Maybe an outlet? Maybe, I don't know if people usually find hobbies.
I did.
Like
So
that.
it was like, it was friends that like, hey, you're not yourself. What's going on
They
with
noticed.
you?
Yeah.
Like, I got a few calls today. Like, where you been? We haven't heard from you.
Yeah.
Like what's going on? But it's like, I feel like I'm okay. It's just that everyone has to process things differently. And what I notice is sometimes it's okay to take time out and process things and then figure it out and then take an action. But you can't isolate yourself for that long. You can only isolate yourself enough to process it and then come with a plan and figure out what you're going to do. But you can't just
wipe yourself from the whole situation.
A lot of people just go into this isolation and then it's too hard for them to get out.
Yeah.
I know that. I recognize that. I'm not there. I just needed time to process things. And I think it goes back to what I say to you when it comes down to violence, because people that isolate themselves, now they don't have no one to talk to. Now they lost their friends, they lost their family. Some of them lost their jobs. Some of them don't have financial help. They don't want to ask, or, they lost their girlfriend. It just, life got hard. And so it's just easier for them to now become violent and take the easy way out. That's my personal opinion, or at least that's my experience.
No, I do agree with you, because in EYT we did take a course in the beginning, and it was called Alternatives to Violence. And it was like they taught us how to speak, they taught us how to listen. Like they would literally make us sit in circles and just listen to each other. And I feel like in a lot of communities where there's kids or teenagers or even adults who just don't have that place to learn those things, because as kids we're not taught that. No one's taught how to like sit down and just listen to everyone. They just don't have that outlet, like you said, and it's like they instead of having an alternative to violence, they just go straight to the violence.
Yeah. And I know I'm gonna sound real old.
It's okay.
But I think social media has a lot to do with it too.
I see why you say that.
You know, when I grew up, we didn't have social media like that. You know, it required more communication. It required more interactive. Now, when you're on social media, especially when you're going through tough times, now you look at social media, you see this person at the beach, this person got this new car, this person is here, this one and this boyfriend is so in love, and he just, you know, like social media plays into your mind and makes you feel like you don't have this.
That definitely is true.
Like, oh, well, you know, I don't have this, I'm broke, or I don't have this, and my family doesn't have this, or I was never given this. And it's like, I feel like social media plays a lot into your mental.
So I feel like it really materializes
Yes.
everything.
Yes. And that's why for me, like when I speak to, you know, younger individuals, and I'm not saying younger as like under 20, I'm talking about like even in mid 20s, going into their 30s, because they start to feel like, for whatever reason, when people start to hit 30, they think that their life is about to be over. So if they're not married, or they don't have a car, or they're still living with their parents, that it's going to be over. And, you know, the big piece of it is like, take that social media out and focus on what you want to do. Like, who says you have to have everything, you know? Who said you have to like know what your major is when you graduate high school?
Stop. It's a problem.
No, it's not. It's okay.
Yeah.
As long as you're going, and if that's what you want to go to school, it's fine. It's going to come to you. Whatever you want to do is going to come to you when it's time. Don't put so much pressure on, I have to have this done, I have to do this. No. It's your life, and you're going to enjoy it, and everything's going to come to you. And I know so many people that, I'm going to be, all their life they were going to be like a doctor.
And then just change your mind.
And that's okay. As long as for me, I've always tell my kids, do what makes you, don't follow for the money. Do what makes you happy, because you have to get up every day and go to work and be happy. Money's not going to make you happy. I mean, it's going to get you a lot of things.
Yeah.
But it's not going to make you happy.
I think that's excuse me. I think that's one of my worst fears too. It's like choosing one profession, and then at the end of the day, like I'm doing it and it just feels like a cycle, and then I hate it. Like that's just my worst thought.
You know what I was going to be when I first started going to college?
What?
A nurse.
Really?
Yes. I went to school for nursing. Yeah.
What made you not want to pursue it?
Again, I went
Just
for
a
nursing.
change of mind.
In the back of my mind, I wanted to be a nurse, but then I wanted to be a cop.
Yeah.
But the cop thing seemed like so far-fetched that nursing seemed the easiest thing. But when I started to work, the job, I was working for Comcast, and it was like rotating hours, and they wouldn't accommodate to my school schedule. So so I decided to like leave school and just, work. And then I went back to school when I was working in corporate, and I had them pay for it. But now they wouldn't cover nursing. So I just got like a general, bachelor's in business administration, because it had to be in the field where they would pay for it.
Yeah.
So like I said, I still got it.
Ooh.
It's not, I'm not doing business administration.
Yeah.
I'm not a nurse. I'm not going to lie to you. I have thought about going back and doing it still. Like maybe after post-retirement. I think if I go back and I do 18 months straight, I could be a nurse, or I could be a registered nurse. So like I said,
You could do it.
I could do it.
I know
might
you could do it.
There's a lot of cops. There are actually cops and are nurses, believe it or not.
Really?
Yeah.
I didn't know that at all, because
Yeah, my old lieutenant that was in Plainfield, he was doing both. He was on his way here retired, and he was doing both. He was doing it per diem, which means like he kind of like picked and choose when he wanted to work, what days,
Yeah.
and he had no benefits or anything. They just paid him outright. And then when he retired, now he's doing that. So that's why it's in my head.
that's
So-
good. That's
so
like that's like having another plan. There's like plan A, plan B. you
But I
know?
don't want to work holidays anymore. So like after
Uh-huh.
being a cop and missing out on so many things, nursing is also something that
Yeah.
requires you to work weekends and holidays. But there's a new thing called travel nursing, and that's kind of like
Oh, my
appealing.
God. My sister's a travel nurse.
That's appealing.
My sister's a travel nurse, and she's everywhere. Like, she's not in one place.
And they're making a
never.
lot of money. Listen,
She
a lot of
does.
money, and they pay for you. You get a lot of money, and they pay for your hotel. You go to different cities. Like if I was single, no
Mhm.
kids, I would be a travel nurse.
And I feel like the only thing that sucks about my sister being a travel nurse is that they don't accommodate for school.
Really?
They don't. And it's like, I'm not sure how it really works exactly.
Well, maybe
But-
because you don't get no benefits, right? Probably.
Yeah, so she's like working at night, and then she goes to school in the daytime. She works
Okay.
like 12 hours shift. I have no idea how she does it.
So what is she trying to do?
I have no idea. She just wants to keep being a nurse and keep studying. She's trying to be a therapist, I believe.
Oh,
Yeah.
that's good money. I have a couple girlfriends and they're making a lot, especially
yeah.
now. They're making a lot of money, and they actually open up their own practice because you can do that online. You can do it from your own home, and take therapy sessions. That's good, but I don't want that. I thought about it because of
Yeah.
what I told you that I do, but I think I want to just keep it here. I want to do something fun.
Yeah. And talking about professions, you mentioned that you had kids, right?
Yes.
What would you say to your kids if they wanted to be a officer, if they wanted to be a detective?
That's funny.
Yeah.
So I have a 29-year-old, right?
Oh my gosh, they're already grown.
I have a 29-year-old and a 23-year-old.
Okay.
I definitely pushed them at the beginning.
Mm-hmm.
My youngest was like, no way. My oldest was like, no way.
They didn't want to?
They didn't want to. But again, you never know where life turns, right? My
Yeah.
oldest, he was always like in sales. He always liked that type of thing. It didn't work out. He's actually working, I keep him anonymous, but he's working at a police department as a parking enforcement.
Mm-hmm.
And now he wants to be a cop.
Oh, okay. So he changed his mind.
I'm not going to lie to you. I'm like, I just don't see it. Not that I
Yeah.
don't see it, but I just think that the profession has changed so much
Uh-huh.
that maybe because I'm older now, I'm like, you sure you don't want to be something else and do something else? And he's like, nah, this is what I want to do. And I'm like, so it's funny. I begged him and
Yeah.
he didn't want to. And now he wants to do it. So we'll see how that goes.
Hopefully
He just
it
took the
goes well.
test, and listen, if he's doing it on his own. He hasn't
Mhm.
really asked for my opinion. He didn't really tell me about it. I
He's
think it's
just
something that
doing
he
it.
wants to do on his own,
Yeah.
on his own way, nothing to do it. And so on that aspect of it, I'm proud of him,
Yeah.
and I'm proud that he's doing it. He loves where he works, the township that he works. He loves them. They like him. So maybe it's a good fit. I think I'm
Yeah.
just
I feel like I know what you mean, but I can't put it into words.
I can't put it into words.
I can't put it
My
into-
hands are
I
talking
know
to you.
exactly what you mean, though. So let's say one day he came up to you. He was like, Ma, please give me some advice. I don't know what to do. To like, maybe with the mental health issue, how you said that it does take a toll,
hmm
and you do work in the position where it's like people come to you and things like that. How would you really tell him, especially because he's on the younger side and new generation, this and that? How do you think you could help him, or what do you think could help him?
I mean, it's not even a hypothetical. It's
Yeah.
an actual thing that has happened. I don't. The one thing about me is, very early on, I had good senior guys that like poured into me, and I was coming in on the job and they were leaving, but they like poured a lot of knowledge into me.
Yeah.
And one of the things they told me was leave work at work and don't talk about it at home.
Okay.
It didn't make sense so much then. It makes so much sense now. And I can tell you that I really practice it. When I leave work at 5 o'clock, I'm not a cop. I don't think about work. I literally just swap out. So my husband is also, I met him when I used to work in corrections. So he's also a cop. And we don't talk about work.
Family of cops.
Yes. we don't talk about work. You know, if I need to talk about work, I'll call my work friends.
Yeah.
And I'll call them in the morning. It's like a routine. I call them on my way to work or I'll call them on the way home.
Mm-hmm.
But when I get in, I don't talk. So for me, that would be my advice. And that's what I think has helped me is leave work at work and don't discuss it. Because you have to separate it so that you can have like a normal life. A lot of people that I know, I think I also am blessed that I started my career later on because I've had a life. There are some cops that their only employment was being a cop. That's all they know. They're scared to retire because they're like, what am I going to do? I don't have that problem. I definitely know I could definitely find things to do outside of work.
Be a nurse. Do it. Be a travel
Beach.
nurse.
Listen, beach. When I retire, I'm going to the beach. I just want to worry about what I want to eat. I have a lot of friends. I have a lot of events. I'm a sociable butterfly. I have fun. And for me, that's where I like to teach. It's just live your life.
Not be dependent.
And not be dependent. I also think that what I'm learning is also education. I think that I've always been an advocate of going to school.
Mm-hmm.
And not as a backup plan, but believe it or not, a lot of the job at COP is writing. You write reports. You're doing a lot of writing, and as you become a detective, you're writing a lot of search warrant. You're writing emails.
I didn't know that.
You're writing exhaustive, too much, right?
Yeah.
As a patrol officer, maybe less, but you're still writing because every time there's something you have to write. So for me, education and learning how to write is so essential. And so for me, that's what I would tell him. Still get your education. And I'm still pushing him to finish school. He started school, but he didn't finish. So for me, my youngest did finish because it's a backup plan. Just in the event, guess what? If you try to be out a cop and it's not for you and it doesn't work out, you still have a degree. You can maneuver to something else. And if you don't like it, it's fine. So the other thing is learning that your work friends are your work friends. I can't say that I have met work friends that have become my friends.
Yeah.
And it's kind of different from a police department. It's different from a police department versus a prosecutor's office. It is a very different environment.
Thank you so much for having me. Well, I had
Thank
you
you.
technically.
Thank
you so much for talking to me. I appreciate it so much. If you want to be...
And listen, well, my question to you is, what is it that you want to do?
I have no clue. I have no idea what I want to do. It's people keep throwing things at me. Well, it's not like throwing, but it's why don't you keep interviewing? Why don't you do graphic design? Why don't you become a police officer? My parents would love for me to become a police officer, but I'm in that debate, And I'm still thinking about it.
But what is it that deep down inside that you enjoy the most, that you like?
I don't know. I got to figure it out.
And that's okay. That's okay. There's
Thank you.
nothing wrong with that.
I love talking to you so much.
Yeah, no,
I enjoyed it a lot.
No, that's okay.
I'm
gonna be here and I'm gonna keep an eye on you. So when do you graduate?
I graduate. This is my senior year, the one that I'm going into.
Okay. So are you thinking about pursuing going to college, or you're not sure yet?
Yeah, I think I do want to go to college.
Okay. All right. So I'm gonna keep an eye on you. I'm gonna come back and find out. But listen,
I'm gonna look for you.
no one. Don't let no one tell you that you have to.
Okay.
It'll come to you. You'll figure it out.
Thank you.
All right.
I appreciate it.
Thank you
so much for talking to me. Thank you for listening to the After School Podcast.